Hello.
Hello.
Do it again. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello and welcome to Always Strikes Last.
Where we deal with Matt.
There we go.
You all, dear listeners, were subjected to an experimental intro tone, probably inspired by that weird World Cup sound from a couple years ago. But hey, probably not going with that. We'll find something better.
But if you got the weird intro tone, listen again to see if you did. It's an A/B test.
Yeah.
Just
There's
listen to the
a
whole
little known fact that if you break apart the harmonics and study it for a good amount of time, makes you a better player.
There we go.
Also, we've hidden a brown note somewhere in here, so watch yourself.
Yeah.
I'm Miles, and of course I'm joined by Matt and Jack. This is Always Strikes Last. Get that out real quick before I forget.
Yeah, before the listeners are confused and leave.
Yeah. We're an Age of Sigmar podcast, in case anyone was wondering.
Sometimes. After the openings,
yeah, exactly. So let's see. This weekend, I just went and played a Highlander tournament, which was a good time. It was at Underworld Gaming in Dublin, which is my local shop now. So they're a good time if you're in Dublin. And it was fun. I played the Highlander format in 40K years ago when it sort of started circulating. This is the there can only be one list building format. So it's and what we did for this one was you can only have one copy of a unit unless it's unconditional battle line, at which point you can take multiple copies.
So when you say unconditional battle line, I wouldn't be able to have, an extra Ungor Raiders per Ungor or...
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, and so that was pretty interesting. It really, I think largely it forced people to rethink their sub-allegiance choice, right? For example, I brought the Chappas for Ironjaws, which is the one that no one ever takes because it's dumb. But you can use the War Chanta to give out 3+1 damage buffs, which is good because I can only take one War Chanta.
Nice.
So that was the reason to do that. Now, there's no other reason to take that sub-allegiance as far as I can tell. But unless you're really going for it, I guess.
That seems like such a fun concept, though. Just knowing how that'll break apart maybe the army you would expect to see from some faction to something new. Just it really creates that novelty and kind of fun what-if factor for the game. If you like,
absolutely.
As somebody who spans the useless units, I would be totally screwed.
No, that's very true, Matt. It definitely really, really validates the people who, like me, who are let's just have one of everything kind of army collectors. It's like, oh yeah, I don't have a unit of them yet. Maybe I'll grab one of those instead of having good, solid, redundant choices for my army to build off of.
Or poor redundant choices.
Sure, yeah.
It depends on your flavor, really, when it comes down to it, right?
That's true.
But yeah, so it was really good. My army didn't change a lot. I ended up, because I had the extra points, I ended up allying in some Moon Clan Shudas, which were useless, but I had a great time. I think they did 4 wounds over the course of the event and died to a stiff breeze every single chance. So 125 points well spent.
Nice.
Really.
Very interesting.
I'm sure all the listeners and myself and Matt would love to know, what was your path to victory, or if you didn't win all your games and crush it, path to a place? What did you kind of run into?
Sure.
Yes. How did you get to the area where you sat at the end of the game?
So my path to victory got immediately disrupted by playing this fellow named Rob and his Gitz first round. And oh my God, I knew that they were fast, the new squigs especially. In my head, I had looked at it on paper. I was like, oh, these guys are fast. And I set up in a kind of conservative way, for Ironjaws. And I was feeling really good about myself. And I think I killed one unit and then was tabled on turn 2.
Sounds about right.
So That was pretty brutal. Definitely need to go back to the drawing board and think about what we're going to do about that. You know, I don't need to. I'm not going to belabor it. Gitz are good right now. I don't know what to tell you. Especially in an army that just has to fight them, you know, on their terms, because that's what we do. We're Iron Jaws. We fight you on your terms.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Was the story of the game they bounced at you and bounced
yes.
hard? Okay.
They bounced real good.
They did not bounce off this time.
No. But then I had a really good game against a Sylvaneth player who had a pretty fun list. Again, one of everything. So, you know, it was a really mix of, I think he had 2 units of Dryads, and those were obviously he's allowed to take 2 units of Dryads. A little bit of an all over the place list, and I think he was a newer player, but had really mastered all of the strike and fades really smartly, and all of that sort of like teleportation tech and where to put the trees to get maximum effect. So I was definitely spread thin trying to cover his teleportation. And that was Realmstone Cache. So I got an early lead by just being able to sit on the objective in the middle, and I'm a pile of orcs. What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. But I couldn't do that and also keep all the teleporting from stopping. I had a really disastrous round of combat with the Maw Crusher and lost him. So it was like kind of like trying to claw it back, and he ended up winning on turn 5, basically through teleport shenanigans and being able to, you know, grab a few last minute points to edge out the victory. It was a great game, and he played well.
Nice.
That's very interesting. Normally people are saying it's a 3-turn game now. That's actually kind of nice to hear, that somebody can go all the way to the 5th turn and actually still affect the game.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, we both still had stuff. It wasn't like a bloodbath. Like, first game was a bloodbath. But
it was a Gitz path.
Yeah.
I'm sensing an extreme green theme so far, by the way, Miles.
Yeah. Because, depending on how you draw them, I guess my 3rd game was against the Idoneth Deepkin, which, depending on pollution levels in your area, could be very
true.
But so this was a fellow. He was running lots of Namarti, specifically Reavers. So it was a big shooting list, and he had sort of he did this really good play of pushing his shark, like auto running his shark on turn 1. I gave him the first turn. It's the only time in the tournament I had the option to change the thing to change the initiative. And I would really love a double turn option, and especially against Idoneth, you really don't want them to double turn you, especially into turn 3. Like that's like the worst possible scenario. So controlling that pacing, I thought was going to be really valuable. But he pushed his one single shark up into my face on turn 1 and just sat it there and did nothing, right? And I couldn't move, right? Because the one thing that I do first turn every time is Mighty Destroyers to get my guys that extra round of movement, because they're slower than anything that's ever been made. And and I can't do that because it turns out Mighty Destroyers, if you are already within 12 inches of an enemy unit, instead of getting a free move, you have to immediately charge. And that is cool. There is some really fun interactions with that, right? But he basically was like, yeah, you can use that ability, but you are now doing 11-inch charges on everybody.
That's wonderful.
Instead of 4-inch movement.
Oh, that's really good. That's golf clap worthy.
Yeah, no. So that was really good. I was kind of penned in, very frustrated, and so that was interesting. He sort of suicide bombed his Killian King into me to try and do some damage. I was able to weather it through some good, largely just excessive use of all-out defense.
when it's needed. When it's needed.
And then was able to sort of kill him. And then he had sort of gotten all of his Reavers sort of staggered in waves, sort of moving up the field. And, you know, like, because, you know, he'd layered them in deployment. And one round, I want to say it was it must have been late turn 2. Yeah, that sounds about right. Anyway, bottom of turn 2, I get the 3d6 charge prayer onto the big unit of brutes. They charge 14 inches. and then smashing and bashing. All of the thralls are gone. 30 reavers are gone. The shark is gone. His king is gone. There's an eidolon and like 20 reavers left on the board, and that's about it.
So he tried. He really tried.
No, he did, and like I think
you orked him. You orked him.
I did, I guess. So, but he was playing really well, and I was definitely like feeling like I was like, crap. I don't know how much more of this shooting I can weather. You know, like I had thrown up. I've got 15 Ard boys. Cast Mystic Shield on them. You know, give them the extra damage buff from the War Chanta. Get them up front. So, and then, you know, hit them with the all-out defense. So they're just tanking as hard as they can. But that's, you know, that's not going to last more than a couple turns. You know, so I'm like, this is a losing strategy. So I was pretty lucky to be able to get those long bomb charges. And then it was just like, you know, you have lightly armored bodies, which is like exactly what I'm excited about hitting.
Yeah. Yeah. At that point, you're just cleanup crew.
Yeah.
That's true.
But
it wasn't that first turn, so you weren't dealing with the extra stacked saves, right? So it wasn't like they start out in cover or something for the first turn.
Yeah, exactly. So I had tried to throw the pigs into the eidolon early on, but he's at +2 save because he's all out defense and in cover, and he didn't charge. So I was like, oh, I went nowhere. You know, I think I did tie him up, which was interesting. You know, kept him from doing what he wanted to do because he had to fight pigs for 2 turns. Mm-hmm. So maybe a worthy sacrifice there. I don't know. Probably wouldn't do it again.
I mean, in all honesty, the Eidolon, you don't want him charging, right? So as long as he's not charging, you're in a better place. So
sure,
I would have tried to do that. That would have been my first thought, right? Either hit him with mortals as quickly as possible, or just make sure he's not moving around the board. Keep him in combat, or make him waste his charge on the next turn trying to get out of it.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was a fun event. Again, so I went 1 and 2. Obviously, you try to win more than you lose. Didn't work out for me that yesterday, but that's okay. And one of the most fun lists, and I think the fellow had a really good time with it, was the Lumineth list, because you know, Lumineth is a book that is full of conditional battle line.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can't take 2 units of Sentinels because they're not battle line. You can't take 2 units of those dudes on horses. They're not battle line. You can't take 2 units of Ruse. You can't take 2 units of, you know, like the list goes on. And so he had a little bit of everything. You know, he had a Goku, he had a Cathalar, a big unit of the cow guys, an Avalanor, you know, like it was a smorgasbord of different units, and it looked absolutely like super fun.
Oh yeah, I bet. For those who don't know, Goku is the Wind Mage. He's on.
Yeah, he's flying around on his little cloud.
Yeah, he's on Nimbus.
I think I love that idea. I wish I would see LRL lists kind of like that, because certainly they look great. It's very archetypical to have like the ranked masses of archers and spearmen to use their old school high elf names.
Sure.
But yeah, like they can be a little bit oppressive, you know, with the whole castle thing. And it's kind of fun to see the different things do their different special things.
Well, it's always been interesting to me too. That book has so much variation now. And while some of those units aren't oppressive, they're actually tactically more viable than some of the other units, right? For the first 2 iterations of that book, and somebody's probably going to be like, no, you're wrong. You know, there wasn't that much tactical viability to the army. It was just like, we do this one thing, and if somebody finds a way around it, we're dead. And that was kind of like, you know, people hoping that they would get either decent matches where they couldn't get auto dispels for Teclis for his 4+ wards, or it was just, you know,
right. So like, you got a Gargant into their lines and you started smashing stuff.
Yeah, and the army was done. So like, I don't know, it feels like it should be played that way, to be honest. I know for the 40K reference, it feels like a 3rd edition Eldar book, and how that should be played, where you want to have one of everything to really actually work.
You want to have your full Swiss Army knife full of gadgets for whatever the exact application is that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the army, the model range for that army is so beautiful too. So it's always kind of weird to just see that and be like, okay, I've played this 400 times and we know how to beat this now. Maybe you could branch out.
There we go. So one thing that was kind of interesting yesterday, I mean, as I get more experience with the DGHB and keep playing the new missions and stuff like that, there definitely seems to be some contention about the books that have battle tactics that are good and books that don't have battle tactics that are good. Because I know in my Gitz game, I don't think the Gitz player used a single one of the standard battle tactics.
Interesting.
Which is very interesting. I have,
or I lost so early that I wasn't paying attention. One of the two. Definitely one of the two.
Turn 2, right? Turn 2.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna lean on 50-50 there.
Okay. Little a column A, little a column B.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, so playing as orcs like Ironjaws. So we have two book battle tactics that we have access to as an Ironjaws player that doesn't bring Gobsprak. Is it Gobsprak? Whatever. The named guy on Maw Crusher.
Yep. The we'll call him Bigger Orc.
Bigger Orc, yeah.
I think Gobsprak's the one from the thin orcs.
He's on the Vulture.
Okay, yeah. But, Gobsprak will do it too. Anyway, there's one battle tactic you can do if you have him or Gobsprak or Kragnos, which I don't. But so other than that, the Ironjaws have two. There's one that is Get Stuck In, which is first or second battle round only, and every single one of your models ends the turn within 12 of the enemy.
Well,
it's rough.
Yeah.
It's interesting against maybe something like the new Beast where they're encircling you or you got a lot of deep strikes, so there's some Stormcast play to it. But the danger is always that you go for it and then you kill yourself out of range because it's at the end of the turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, that's interesting. That's interesting because that one's like conditional, but kind of tough to do. Right? You can't just like be scrumming through your book because the normal ones don't look easy and automatically find that one is like, oh, of course I have this as my backup. That's like once in a while you'll be able to make it work, but it's not a gimme.
And it's always one that I'm looking to make work and I've never succeeded.
Yeah, I find that one the hardest. And it because it's so actual battle plan dependent. Right.
That's true too. Yeah.
If your map is like opposite corners and, you only want to hold your first objective for one turn. Why would you move up there and even give your opponent that ability? Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, you're very susceptible to a 3-up redeploy screwing up your battle tactic, which is, always an issue.
Exactly. It gives them that clear way. It's like I can roll one dice from one command point and maybe get those 2 points, which is kind of never what you want with the battle tactic at all. I've been thinking a little bit about this, the book tactics in general, and I feel like there's kind of 3 broad categories of them. If you look at like every book's, if they even have them, kind of list. There's the once in a blue moon, hard as heck to pull off. Don't do this unless you're desperate because this is how you lose that battle tactic, and you give the 2 points.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's the conditional sometimes, where sometimes you happen to be in a position or very carefully put yourself in position to make it work, but otherwise it's not like naturally very easy. Yeah, and maybe like it's kind of a wide range there, kind of going to either end. Maybe that one you were describing, Miles, is there. And then there's like the ones I think people get a bit more incensed about, which are like the free points button. Like they're just whamming on it whenever they need it to kind of like essentially not have to do a real tactic, or something which is more difficult. The equivalent of like run 3 units from the other GHB,
Yeah, I was going to do this anyways tactic. Yeah, I feel like those are all over. I generally shy away from the book ones for the most part. For some reason, I think it's more just not being able to remember them. That's usually what it is.
There's that.
But it
that seems like a you problem.
Yeah, that's definitely a me problem. But it is very strange, right? Like some of these are, I was going to do this anyway, so here we go, right?
Yeah.
And others very much are just, okay, how is that even possible? Show me a world where that is possible. And I think the biggest offending books for, well, not the biggest offending books, the books that have the most problems with this are obviously the older books, which were like, okay, how much do we want to lean into this? Mm-hmm. But the second tier of those is the like split faction books. The like Orc Warclans immediately came out and was like, okay, we have 1-2 battle tactics, right? That are actually viable per independent
subfaction.
Yeah. And that's a bit depressing, right?
Yeah.
I remember picking up the Orc book and going, okay, cool. Let's see what the GHB has got, because I'm very rarely going to get these.
Sure. The big Wa one is easy, right? There's one that's like, if you have 30 big Wa points, you just get it. Right. That's definitely going back to Jack's like slam on the points button.
Yep.
And then the other one that for Iron Jaws that I do get occasionally is, you have battle line at the beginning of the round and now you don't.
Yeah. And that's super situational, right? That's still super situational.
And those are the ones I think that feel kind of okay. I mean, like they're not auto pass, but you can maybe get something out of them. There are a couple from the Slaves to Darkness books either I've used or I've flirted with and I'm becoming more familiar and comfortable with now, which are kind of like that. I would put them in the probably too close to easy, but still like in the conditional camp. One of them is basically, do you have a unit with a banner and anything else? I think it is when I reviewed it more recently. Can you get them in enemy territory? That's like a point, or a couple points. Mm-hmm. And then another one is basically look at some 12-inch or around an objective. Is there an enemy unit there? At the end of the turn, is there no enemy unit there? So if you have like a lightly defended objective and you're going to kill that thing, like definitely you can just get the 2 points. So
I had the Ideneth guy had a good one like that, which was there's a unit within 3 inches of your boat or whatever the range was. I don't care. And at the end of the turn, there are no units in that range of your boat.
Yep. Yeah. Beast of Chaos has one similar. Bone Splitters actually has one that's interesting. Which is just kill an enemy monster, which again, situational.
You have to have one on the field.
But fairly auto take if it's available, right? So what's
kind of interesting is that there has been a good amount of contention about these book battle tactics to the point where I think we're hearing about some notable tournaments trying to ban them. Am I right about that, or am I just completely mishearing that?
I've heard outright ban possibilities. I've seen them almost. I mean, I know. I remember that when I went to that, whatever it was, that grand tournament earlier this month. At some point, the battle pack had changed a little bit, but at some point, I think it had written that they were not going to allow the book battle pack, so they changed it last minute. They did, so that was being kind of flirted with. But the biggest one I've heard of that seems to be kind of going down that road is actually taking a very interesting path. It's a split path. And it's actually the one I think happened this weekend. The big grand tournament down in Austin or around thereabouts or Dallas or wherever in Texas. Lone Star.
Somewhere in Texas.
Yeah, huge.
It's a small place. How where could it?
Somewhere
huge tournament,
down
small place.
In that giant area. Anyway, big tournament. That was like 100 plus players or like some high number. From what I'd heard. And I think that they had decided that you could use all the battle tactics to your grand strategy or whatever from your book if you so desired. But they said, well, if you're going to do a battle tactic from your book, it's worth 1 point, not 2. If you're going to do a grand strategy from your book, it's worth 2 points, not 3. So, like, your options are there. You can play with your stuff, but, it kind of curtails it feeling like as much of an advantage because you're giving something up to go for, like, the easier fruit, so to speak.
That makes sense. I think I'm always, not always. There's one unit
every
that
single
I never
time.
want to see in a game again, and I think it should be just taken out of competitive play whatsoever. Even now, that Crown Spine just needs to go away. It breaks every rule of the game.
Okay,
Outside,
but short of that,
I am almost totally against comp, because of. Because of the idea that, so if we're going to, what it does is it lowers all tides to me for all armies. So even poor armies or poor competing armies are brought down with that. And that presents a problem of, okay, if you're playing a certain army that already struggles to get battle tactics, may be due to the specific GHP that's out, the model range for that army, and then in addition, your book may just not be presenting you with the abilities possible. You're now stuck down an extra point. So regardless, I think what happens is that maybe there's a little bit more of an eking out for the people who are, let's put this in a different way. Maybe that helps players like 5 times out of 10 to kind of jump up because, something like the new battle tactics in the Gloomspike Gitz book, they can literally, I just looked at them, they literally can get those once every turn, right?
okay.
Maybe that cuts them down, and if somebody's only using those, then that's entirely on them in a situation where it costs 1 point each.
Sure.
But where the opposing army, which may already be down a tier, is losing that one guaranteed or that one situational, they're just cut down even more, right? And this is why comp, I think, is always a problem for me.
Yeah.
No,
I think I've definitely been on different sides of that argument over the course of playing these games over the years. Is comp good, is comp bad? And certainly you do see some cool examples of comp, so especially sort of late game Warhammer Fantasy. There were some really robust comp systems out there that made the game really interesting and different. But I think I'm with you that, if we want, like right now, Games Workshop is being very receptive. They're being very open about their rules changes and their desire to balance and that kind of thing. And if we start comping the game ourselves, my cat just jumped on a bunch of crap behind.
So just for everybody here, why Jack and I just giggled. Miles' cat tried to jump up on its bed on the table and just
completely ripped it. Yeah, I saw it in the camera. It's pretty great.
And to add a little context, especially why I was laughing so hard, is Miles has a really cool medical mystery in his house where he has 2 cats who share one brain, and most of that brain is with the black and white cat. And the other one, Freya, had a classic moment where she jumped up onto a cat bed and it fell off and fell on top of her. And it was like a slow motion comedic sketch.
Yeah, and she's still sitting there just trying to figure out what to do about it.
Yeah. This is her life now. She lives there.
Yep.
Sorry, derailment.
No, it's all good. To get back somewhere, wherever we were, right, Games Workshop is being very proactive about trying to balance the game, trying to keep the game in a good place. We have these MetaWatch interviews once a quarter. We have a balance update once a quarter. If we're comping the game, then we're throwing off all of their data that they have to use to balance the game.
I think that's a really good point, actually. And I ultimately, as fun as it is to maybe go to Adventure Season twists like that, I kind of come down where you guys are, because you take a giant RTT, which you're getting paid attention to, which maybe, or GT, sorry, I can't use my words today, that, sending people to like the Masters level events and all that, and then you change the rules. Well, if that data is feeding in, cool, it's a good result. Maybe it is better or not, but it's A, not the game. The Games Workshop is currently released and trying to push, and B, it will mess up their feedback, right? It'll tell them it's okay if it's not. If your Band-Aid is covering the wound, they do not identify the wound.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that speaks to another level of like how the state of the game and how it changes over time too, right? New GHBs come out. It forces you to change the way you play in order to play the game up to a competitive level, right? If you're like me and you're just going to play all cavalry, you shouldn't expect to be getting every battle tactic right now. And you may have to rely on the book a little bit more in order to get one or two battle tactics. But that shouldn't skew it too hard. And we should see armies come up in resurgence, right? There should be an ebb and flow.
I think naturally armies gaining and losing power is natural.
And part of the fun of the game, right? It doesn't have to be chess. It can be like an evolve. Like there are different times where things are kind of waxing and waning. No Gitzy moon focused thinking there, but there's something to that. One thought I'll throw in, and I think this is just maybe what I do agree with about what kind of rankles folks with this, is it almost seems like a binary situation, because I think we are at a GHB right now where it is tougher to get your battle tactics unless you want to play the Galatian Champions game, right? It's like if you don't do that, if you just say, no, I like my army, what GHB win, don't care, I painted this list, I push it forward, I expect to win, and it doesn't have the right pieces, you have very few viable tactics. In fact, it's very hard to get all of your tactics. And we sort of noted that before. But if you have kind of like, nuts in the storehouse ready for the winter, and this being the winter, and there's one which is like blink at your opponent 3 times, another one which is like have a model in your table quarter, then you could effectively evade it because you're not put up against it as much. You can still get the relatively easy ones with GHB and get a high score without changing your list. And I do wish people had to change their lists a bit more for the season, so I feel like it kind of lets them escape that.
Yeah. And Gloomspite Gitz is probably going to be a major offender for that.
Those assholes.
I'm fine with it. They deserve.
They've been so. Yeah, I was going to say that. I was about to say the same thing. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. It's a really tough. Like looking at these battle tactics, right? Gaining momentum. That's the same. Eye for an eye. That's the same. Desecrate their lands. That's the same. This one's mine. That one is really situational based on who your general is. I feel like there's a lot of interesting reasons to make your general a Galatian champion now. And that makes this one's mine significantly harder than having your general be riding a giant dragon or something.
I mean, this one's mine. I take in practice games once every couple of months to remind myself why I should never be using that battle tactic.
Oh, sure. Well,
it's like, okay, let's do it. We got to cross this box off. Okay, good. Yep, still worthless.
That's one where, like, for me, if I had the Maw Crush a general, hell yeah, this one's mine. Take that every game. Yep. But now it's much more interesting. Matter of Honor is tough. You got to kill a Galatian champion or sworn bodyguard with a Galatian champion or sworn bodyguard. Again, that goes back to this one's mine problem. Like, how many of your Galatian champions are up to kill a unit in one swing?
Exactly. It's like, anything at that foot level that's not unique is generally struggling. Like, the dice can and will fail you there. I mean, about the only time I feel good about it was if I was like fighting like an Empire battle mage on 2 wounds who got somehow survived the first round of combat with like fight a character.
And that leads me into what's the other one? No, I guess those are the 2. Yeah. So, so those 2 are basically like only if you have a situation where they have a wounded but not dead Galatian champion that's within range for you to kill with your dude who's on foot by necessity.
Well, so that depends on the army build, obviously. Like with an assassin and a Skaven army, that's much easier for me to get.
Sure, but it's got to be an assassin that's Oh, I guess it's a Galatian champion. For this one's mine, the assassin would have to be your general. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think in my only frustration when it comes down to it, when I look at a lot of the battle tactics in books, because I'm continually jumping back and forth, still trying to figure out which army I want to play for the season. And one of the ones that I've had a lot of fun with is that all Eshin army, right? All Clan Eshin. And the book itself only has 4 battle tactics. All of the Skaven book only has 4 battle tactics. Whereas I now look at the Gloomspite Git book. If you're playing a mixed list, you have about 5 battle tactics easily, right? With the Skaven one, you really, unless you're playing a mixed list, only have 1. And even if you're playing, and even then, you have to have almost every different subfaction of Skaven in there.
Sure, which is hard to get 4. Into yeah.
So I think what it is when these battle tactics are created, it's like, okay, this is fun. This is thematic. We're going to do this thing that's helpful. And kind of going back to like a lot of grievances, I remember, there was when 3rd edition came out, there was this very clear dividing line for a lot of players between battle tactics are great and battle tactics are horrible and they're going to change the game too much. And that was the equal or more reliance on battle tactics than actually completing, the objectives in the game, holding objectives,
so the primary objectives.
Exactly. Yes. Instead of making it a movement game, it became do this good, do this good, do this good, do this good.
Yeah.
Whereas some 1 to 2 out of 5 turns in a game, you're not truly, unless you're playing at the top level chess, right? It's not like you're going to get every single one of those objective based points.
Sure.
As opposed to battle tactics. And so with the switch to the reliance on battle tactics as an equal to almost way of getting your points over the course of the game, some armies are just inherently going to be edged out of that, especially now that they have just a much more to get. One of the reasons I enjoyed the new GHB is it's harder to get those battle tactics.
Yeah.
And so the people who still want to play chess because they love battle tactics are overjoyed about using all of the battle tactics from the book of their army choice. And the others, I think, fall into that camp of, are battle tactics too much?
I don't know. So, I think, and I will applaud GW on this, like there is still very, like one of the things that I think we learned if you played 40K over the years is that, as 40K has gotten more modern in its sort of approach to missions, was that objective play was much more interesting in the long run than like kill points.
100%. I think that's
right. And that I think was a real big turning point in that game, from being this game of like, let me bring all the biggest guns and sit back and shoot you, to like, okay, well now I need to have a more flexible force that's going to be able to do all these different things and sit on objectives and claim stuff. And that's been a huge strength of Age of Sigmar from the outset.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as we got real missions and points and stuff. So right after the outset, 6 months or so, whenever that was. Major props to GW for not giving us a bunch of points for killing stuff in these battle tactics. Like the killing, if you do get a point for killing something, it is very specific. It is very situational. Outside of that one that Matt has, where you have to kill any monster for whatever reason. But that's still thematic, and you can only do it once. Like.
Exactly. Well, I'm sure the debate will rage on this one, but it is interesting. We should keep a tally maybe as we continue to do some events and tournaments about how often we're getting the ones that are from the book and feel like the common ones versus how often we're dipping into the secret reserve.
I felt really good. I actually got United Offense this weekend, which is a tough one.
Oh,
because that's the one. It's a objective that's controlled by your opponent, and you have to control it at the end of the turn with 2 or more Galatian champions.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the Blue Moon book ones, right? Because like that's not that common.
No, that's really tough.
It's interesting. I think that's our opponent dependent because I've gotten that several times.
Yeah.
Because I'll have somebody who wants to get that first turn, throw that one unit out there to grab an objective, and all of a sudden I'm right there.
Oh, sure. So you're seeing it as a counterplay to Cunning Maneuver turn 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really it's a counter King's Gambit. If for those following us along with the chess, it's the Sicilian defense.
Yes.
We'll go with that. Okay, I like that. I like that. But you have to have a bunch of GCs for that. You really do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's again entirely army dependent. One of the things that I don't think gets enough talk about is the grand strategies, though. Those to me, and it depends on your scoring system, right? We use a scoring system with ITC where you actually get double the points for your grand strategy.
Oh, interesting.
And because it's a tiebreaker in the 500 point system. And so you get it, you get your 3 points at the end of the game if you've secured your grand strategy, and then you get the 3 points again because you're getting your in-game points, and then you're tallying up points for the tiebreaker.
Okay.
And that ends up causing way more havoc to me in the long run.
That's really interesting.
Because some of those are just auto win, right?
Yeah.
The first one that comes to mind is Fire Slayers, especially in this new book where you can hide your general, give him a 4-and-up ward, and then he's in the bodyguard battalion.
I was going to do that with an orc.
Is just summon an invocation, make sure the invocation is on there, and you can make it reroll. So there's almost no reason somebody would not get that, right?
Yeah.
Aside from getting massively tabled, at which point, fair enough.
Yeah, and so I think if there's anything that actually to me provides the feel badsies, and it's the grand strategies, because most of the ones that are the offenders, just like the I guess I hate dwarves. I'm hating on dwarves.
That's okay. Hate on dwarves. It's okay. They're used to it.
Yeah, because the Skyboys have one as well.
Remind everyone what the Skyboy one is.
So theirs is, oh man, I'm on the spot.
You have a ship.
Yeah, you literally have like guys in a ship, or you have them on an objective. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Okay. But it's been pulled on me where it's just like, okay, well, that's easily doable with an army that can just redeploy right at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And it becomes a non-interactive element of the game. And that's the worst thing ever.
I do think there's something to that one, not to pick on it all, but the guy I played in the last GC who was doing KO, awesome dude, played him really well. But I remember he used that one, and but of course I get this grand strategy. And I think he got it every single game. And he won his games, of course, but also there was no question that if he was winning or in a good position, he would get that strategy.
Exactly. And that's the only thing that I see when I look at those. When somebody says, oh, battle tactics, they're too much, it's like, well, have you looked at the extra 3 points that your opponent gets every turn or every game? Those 3 points will actually change your game, right?
And to maybe play a little bit, not devil's advocate, but whatever, you get the idea. It also sounds like you have an interesting tournament level comp system going on that's making the imbalance in grand strategies even worse.
As a TO, it drives me nuts. It drives me up the wall. There have been a couple of games where it's just like that. What?
So one thing we did the last tournament, and they've been doing this for a couple of tournaments over here, is kind of an interesting take on the 500 point system, which is there are no tiebreaker points to start off with. If you win, you get 600 points. and your opponent gets 0. If you lose, you get 4. Or if you lose, if it's a minor victory, which almost never happens, it's 400, 200. If it's a dead draw, it's 300, 300. And then your in-game points, including your battle tactics and your grand strategy, is the tiebreaker.
Interesting. That is very interesting.
Yeah, I could see that working for sure.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that someone with a more advanced math degree than me could come up with an edge case where it doesn't work. But so far, I've been very pleased with it as a tournament system, and it's dead simple.
Nice. Well, speaking of tournaments and things like that, maybe a fun palate cleanser to our, quite roaring and I think continuing debate on grand strategies and battle tactics. So I think we have some general alignment here. Are more events and what to do about the current bugbears and things that go bump in the night or potentially scuttle up from the dark. I will be playing RTT this upcoming weekend, hoping to, be a mirror to Miles's, a conquering score at least, and we'll have a good time with that. But I've been thinking about our friends, the Gitz. And I have one thing that I really want to do. I'm not sure I'll actually make my list to accomplish, but I thought everyone would find it fun. Okay. Which is, I want to be a shrine buster. They all come out of that thing. Just got to blow it up.
Yeah, no, that's. Honestly, as strategies go against the Gitz, that is definitely a thing to be thinking about, because one of the most egregious things about them is not only are they voluminous and difficult to kill and rally for no reason at all, but then they just come back on a re-rollable 4-up every single turn.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of thinking. It feels like, if some giant terrifying squid herd comes and mashes half your army, that feels bad. But maybe, in other armies, other games, you kill that and then maybe you can claw it back. But when half of that comes back again, that just seals the deal. And I was looking at the war scroll. I'm like, well, it's a pretty liberal amount of space. They can plop it down. It's hard to screen the thing out.
Sure.
So go straight for the throat. And I've been tinkering around with a couple ways to get something with a monstrous action 100% against it almost the entire time, first turn, to make sure that even if they're rushing me, they're not going to
roll the 3-up roundhouse kick.
Yeah. It's sort of a bad plan because it is, a lot of planning for a 3-up, but it seems fun. So I'm going to take it with that.
So you're tinkering with Slaves to Darkness for that one?
Yeah, Slaves to Darkness. I mean, it's not to be sure that I would take this. So with a grain of salt, all listeners are people who I might be playing and having a great time with on Saturday. But I just had this thought. Well, I could put a Demon Prince and turn him into a monster with a command trait. I can make him Slanesh. I can zip him right up there, and I can pretty easily with a 3d6 charge and a run and charge or some combination of it, get to even a very conservatively placed Loon Shrine, be within 3 inches of it, kill some smaller unit just to be a hassler, and then try to kick it. If I kick it, a whole lot of problems go away, and I think I sort of shift the perspective. I could also do it with like a Manticore riding Sorcerer or Chaos Lord, or if I really want to be spicy, Archeon. But that. He might be just great for it, because he's so killy and they have a hard time with him anyway, being back there. I mean, I don't know. There's some options out there. The problem is whatever you do to do that is a pretty significant points investment, and it's a suboptimal usage of the unit. Yeah.
I think, and then you're if somebody knows, right? If you get a monster and you're going to be zipping out, they're going to know to bubble wrap. And if there's an army that knows how to bubble wrap terrain,
oh god, they're so good at it.
Yeah, and if they have the bodies, which they do, they can stop you from getting within 3 inches of it, because that's the key. If I can't get within 3 inches of the terrain, like it's not even a point, because that's be the charge phase. I have to literally just have that millimeter into the sweet 3-inch zone, then the lashed out tail will topple that stone. But that rhymed.
So
nice.
One of the things that I've been trying to figure out after lending Charles my Gloomspite Gitz army so I can learn how badly he can table me with them.
Nice. Good solid plan.
Is to try and think as well, like what's another way of being able to deal with Gitz, specifically Squigs and Trogs right now. Trogs that can get a 2+ save, 5-up shrug and heal. That's disturbing. That's so disturbing. So specifically the game that I had against him was using my all knights list, which fun, not going to do anything against Gitz, right? Especially when you roll like I do.
Fair enough.
But a couple of units really stood out to me. And then the option of allying stuff in, because I play the Slanesh Slaves to Darkness heavy as well, and I like to keep it as thematic as I can.
The best way, Matt.
Yeah. The first one that really surprised me, and I had to go back and like double check myself a couple of times, is the Hashut guys. The little horns of Hashut or whatever they are, the Warcry Warband.
I'm sure Jack's going to get like 6 boxes of those and have them painted by this week.
Honestly, I'm looking at a second unit because I already have one.
Okay, nice.
Their flamer weapon. It's not a within range; it's a unit, and you 4 and up wound on every model in the unit.
Oh, nice.
So a couple of those
feels like a Gitz move right there.
Yeah, that's perfect, right? And then the second thing is actually allying in Blisspar archers, and then throwing them in the sharpshooter or marksman battalion, whatever it is, and then just going after support characters. 18-inch range, you've got the speed to get out of the way, except for squigs. But what really takes those squigs off into terrifying territory is the little support characters that are out there. So I see I see that becoming a huge thing against Gitz. And here's the thing. I think the Gitz feel over proportionately powerful right now. That is a tongue twister. I'm not even going to try and say that again. I feel like they feel like we know they're undercosted. We know squig herds are undercosted. That's just sure. If you've been on the receiving end of a charge, or you've charged into them, or you've just had to deal with the mortal wounds on 2+ that come 9 inches, right? Yeah. After they fail bravery, like those are undercosted. But the specific GHB right now makes that army much, much better if you're using any of the Moon Clan stuff, right? Sure. So I feel like right now it's more survive the GHB, wait until the errata and the points updates, and just target small characters, or just play like 5 croaks. You play 5 croaks, you've won. There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
The old 5 croak list.
If you're techless and you're like, oh man, there's all these little support characters, this is tough. If I only had one spell I could auto cast, it would burn them alive. And then second spell I could auto cast, it would make sure the job is done. I think.
Yeah. And it's interesting because like I have thought about it, and I still don't have an answer to a Troglodyte with a 2+ save, or just a 6 stone.
Sure. I mean, there's probably some really interesting tactics you can do with all of our favorite characters, Be'lakor, Kairos, those stupid little tornado foxes that the Lumineth have, where you are somehow messing with their movement, or you're sniping, or you're denying that. Like, you can imagine, okay, like there's this big unit of squigs. Right, the squig herd. The footprint on that thing is enormous to take 36 of them, right? If you stop its movement turn 1, nothing can get over that.
Yeah. So,
yeah, very true.
Belly does, or a Kron spine. You can do that.
Yeah.
No, but with squigs, it's funny because I feel like there are a lot of tools out there that can deal with it. Sure. There's just a huge shock that comes with fighting that unit the first time.
Yeah, for sure.
With the rules updates, because they're a legitimate unit now. They're not like, oh, I love squigs. They're on the table. Yeah. That's so cute.
That.
It's not like you're having a great time. They're having a great time. Oh, bring the whole army for. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to get my win. It's not the fate. Not that it was always the fate, but much stronger now.
It's very nice that they've entered that, and that's like, one of my armies is the squig one, so I'm happy about it. I can't play it until the until
they're bad again. Yeah.
At least to the point where they're average. But the Horrorghast. Why are we not seeing the Horrorghast in lists?
I can see Flesh Eater Court, Screamers, and Terrorgeist coming back in a big way.
Yeah.
If we get a Gitz meta.
Yeah, and that even works against Trogs too, right? They're 5+ bravery.
Yeah, they're real low bravery. Yeah,
they might even be a 4.
So there are things that can deal with them. I think it's a lot of sticker shock, and then it's an army that it used to be too easy to fold, and now it's actually got well-written rules, and we're all like, wait a minute, there are horde armies again? Wait,
yeah, that's true. I mean, even the Skaven have been playing, in my experience recently, have been playing 6 Storm Fiends, Thankful and Bone Ripper, and whatever.
Yeah. And
so
I have opinions on 6 Storm Fiends. It's such a trap.
Yep. But
to to see 120 bodies on the other side of the table and be like, oh crap, that's right, that's how this game works.
Yeah, I have to outmuscle that on an objective, and to be fair to hordes coming back and being scary, I'm still of the opinion that rule on the Stabas is the scariest thing ever.
With the 9-inch.
The 9-inch control zone. That's really, really hard to deal with. This game breaking.
Yeah.
I mean,
I definitely attempted to acquire Stabas for this last weekend as an ally, but I could not. So they ended up with the Shooters, and they are just not nearly as good.
Yeah, that's so fun.
At least as an ally, I'm not a Gitz player. I'm not gonna tell you what to do.
Before I forget to throw this one out, because I think you guys and Possible Issues appreciate this, is there's one thing I want to try. It might not be the best, but it feels like such a fun little Super Frenzy kind of defensive thing, which is I want to get not just the Chosen, which are always going to be there for the Slaves to Darkness, right? But I want to have their pets, the Menagerie, which is going to be the Cockatrice, it's their bird, and their kitty, the Mindstealer's Phalanx. Nice. And it's actually something I want to play with, where I don't necessarily have to screen them, because you can't always screen against stuff like that. But I want to bubble wrap these 2 support pieces with the Chosen, so you can't fight them without being within the auras. So I have a reasonably good chance of either making you only hit on 6s if I roll the 4 out for the Cockatrice to start a combat, and a reasonably good chance if I can match or exceed your bravery on 2d6 of making sure that you strike last. So I could end up womping things and then only seeing a very light reprisal, a perfect situation. And I don't know, it seems fun. It seems fun.
No, I mean I feel like the kitty got better. The kitty got better, and
it got better and worse, and I think it's better, but it's
I
feel like it got better just in the situations in which you can use it have opened up a little bit more.
Okay, sure.
Not it's entirely army dependent, obviously. It's gonna do nothing against a Night Haunt army, but when it comes down to actually being able to use it in the phase at that moment, you're not having to pre-move it up to an area where you're going to get hit. And I feel like the kitty should be appearing in a lot more lists.
Sure. Oh yeah, no, it's in combat phase now. Yeah, that was always such a bitch earlier when it would be in the hero phase or something.
They'd see it coming. He had to be there. Yeah, it was lame comparatively. But now you just run them up.
The other secret thing with the kitty was the -2 bravery bubble. It was a 12-inch -2 bravery bubble, and you combine that with all the minus bravery that you get from the Knight banners and the Marauder banners, and all of a sudden you're -4 bravery on that unit.
I wish you still had that. I wish you still had that. It would be so good, but
that was a very surprising thing to see go away. When I saw that War Scroll, I was like, really? Why? Why?
Well, now it has a different leadership interaction, which is cool in its own different way,
But it's not -2.
I know it's not.
Kitty is definitely far better now than he used to be, though, at swiping things with his paw. I mean, he could do 10 damage. He's 5 2-damage attacks on him. 3s and 3s, run -1.
Yeah, get him in the right spot.
Yeah, the Cockatrice actually is when it attacks, it doubles its. Sorry, charges, it doubles its attacks, right? So that can do 20 damage if nothing made it saves, and until he had everything. So there's some fun play with those as well.
Yeah, Cockatrice definitely got more dependable. And thank goodness it's not a monster anymore. That was ridiculous. That was so ridiculous.
It was a sad day, but they're so useful. I definitely agree.
Yeah. Well, Jack, you'll have to keep us apprised of your zoo of exotic animals list.
Throw in a chimera there just for fun.
Just do it, yeah.
That really would be riding the theme. I think I have a Chaos Gargant in there right now. He's kind of like a pet.
There you go. He just wants to show people his rock.
Yeah, he's stinky. This is his special sauce.
Look at this.
Look at my rock. Sounds good. I think we've come to a good place, so we should maybe call it. And then next time we will have exciting news from Jack's RTT. I'm actually going to be playing a tournament at Warhammer World this weekend. Not to just like completely one up you there, Jack.
Just brush your shoulders off right there.
So that'll be exciting. I've never done an event there. It'll be. We'll let you know if the hype is real. That'll be really fun.
That'll be the headliner for our next episode. I think, like international gamers exploits and local man with local meta problems.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
That'll be brilliant.
Well, as always, thanks to everybody for listening. If you made it this far, you're the best. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thanks for always striking last.
Thanks, everybody. And as always, strike last. Matt's going for the last word. I see him waiting for it. He's the spirit animal for this episode.
Always strike last. Or something. I don't know.